Welcome to Cast and Crank Podcast. Today we got the guy that won't wear the fucking headphones.
Dude, no thanks to headphones.
Yeah. So here's a story. We started doing his original podcast, and he stopped me. I can't do this. This isn't happening. I can hear myself too good. So now he won't. He's the only person that won't wear the fucking headphones.
No.
All the guests.
Not a professional, I guess.
No, not at all. Not like Manny and Mike and
all the other cool kids.
The guy that won't come on the podcast.
Unnamed?
The unnamed guy.
Yeah.
So, gosh, you had you on 71. You knew your episode.
Ep 71. Yeah, I had to re-listen to it. Want to make sure that we don't say the same redundant stuff, you know?
And we had Matt on a long time ago. I'm going to say fucking 145. He was just
145 ago, right?
Ago, yes. We got to turn you up a little. Can you kick it up a little, the mic? Sorry. Perfect. Now talk.
Is that better?
Yeah, oh, way better. You're loud. So we have a Q&A, and we're doing a round two. This is a special one for Swimbait Underground. This is 10 years, right?
Yeah. December, like right around 10th, 12th of 2010, the forum kicked off, and we are where we are now.
It's a big number.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
Awesome to be a part of it. Dogs going in the backyard. Neighbor's dog's wild. Our dog's wild. It's all good.
Yeah. What do you have upcoming bait-wise? Like, so I seen a couple things. I don't know what we could talk about or you can't talk about. What's some stuff they have coming up this year?
Yeah, so obviously we're going to continue doing what we've done with bait makers that are in the industry. You got guys like Eric from UFO. You've got Caesar at Toxic, Matt from 86. You got Clayton from Sly Guy up in Northern California. Those guys are all in the process of putting some baits together for us with some new imaging type stuff that we're working on. You might have seen it on the 86 trout that he did recently.
Is that imaging?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's the imaging that we're working on. He was the first to do it. We've done it with the golden shiner. We did it with a thread fin, and then most recently he did it with a trout. And we're working to get that available to bait makers, you know, that are a part of what we're doing. So
it's like your special twist on the bait to have that image.
Yeah,
or
exactly. So whether it's a trout image or like upcoming with Caesar and Eric's going to be the golden shiner, our go-to. We're going to have a golden shiner, I'm pretty sure, on the Wade Hogs as well as the UFO here in the near future. And that's on the forefront here for 2021. It's exciting stuff. Totally different than what's out there now here in the States. And
are they doing it back in Japan? Are they doing that?
They do some of it,
okay.
Yeah, without a doubt. Some of the bigger production facilities are doing it, but as far as like your garage builders, there's nobody else that's doing it here.
Do you think you could offer that as a service?
Yeah.
Or you wouldn't want to?
We can.
You know what I'm saying? Like, say if like you had different bait makers come and go, hey, we want to do what you're doing. They might not even be part of SU, but you could offer that as a service.
Well, I'm not saying those other guys are part of SU, but they're just makers that we've worked with in the past. And yeah, to answer your question, yes, we are going to offer it as a service.
Oh, you are? So
yeah.
It's going to be like a Swimbait Underground service?
Without a doubt, yeah.
Wow.
So it's under the Underground Supply Co. umbrella, something that we've been working on. We've got the process pretty dialed in, and it's just a matter of time before you start seeing more of the baits with that sticker. If we do the imaging here in house, you're going to see an Underground Supply Co. sticker on it, in addition to the manufacturer's packaging.
So then, say, I don't know who the hell it is, some other random company from back east.
Yep.
Was like, hey, I have 50 baits I want to do. Are you going to put the tag on the bait?
Not on the bait itself, but on the packaging.
Okay.
So yeah.
Oh, so you're going to package it for them as well?
No, so we just have.
Fucking make it clear, Chris. I don't understand what you're talking about. I'm just
So
kidding.
the imaging will be what it is, but we haven't quite determined if there's gonna be a small SU hit on there or if it's just going to be a sticker on the packaging. We're still kind of working through all that stuff.
And I don't want to like give away what you guys are doing or like how you do it, but who thought of the idea?
Me.
Did you?
Yeah, like with inspiration from some of the guys overseas and kind of seeing what's going on there, we're able to make it work here. The most challenging thing has been just getting the process set up to where it makes sense for the maker as well as for us. Like, it's time consuming without a doubt. And guys like Matt from 86 have been instrumental in that. He really helped us get things where they are now. Like,
it's going to save a huge amount of time. And it's almost like you're not going to take away from a painter.
No. Well, like,
right,
that's
you know what I'm
one of
saying?
the biggest limitations with all these guys on what they do. Like, I can make X number of baits a month, but then I got to turn around and paint them, and I've got to do all these things. Well, if we're able to offer a service where we can get an actual fish image onto the bait, it's going to help them turn it, and it helps everybody. It helps SU, it helps the bait maker, it also helps the community. Like, guys are going to be able to get baits more often if makers are able to produce more baits. Like, that's the name of the game.
I think that's the closest thing you can come to production. As
No.
a garage maker.
Yeah, as far as
how about as a garage maker?
Like, it'll definitely automate some of that process for them. But as far as like big time production stuff goes,
Never.
like, no. But we're working toward that too. Like, we're working with some other guys on a few things that should be coming up here, maybe like first quarter of 2021. Where
like a possible production bait.
Yeah, well, we're going to have production baits. Like, that's in the lineup for sure. It's just a matter of getting things finalized, making sure everything it lines up properly, and getting the baits into the guys' hands. Like, we've had samples here for a while, and like, they catch. Mm-hmm. I've caught good fish on them. Everybody I've given the bait to catches fish on them. My buddy up north, I was just up there hunting with him last week, Menzel. I go, hey, have you fished that bait lately? He goes, yeah. I gave it to my girlfriend. She tied it on. She's catching fish right away. Like, it's like, okay, that's good. Like,
Yeah,
that's what you want. We want baits that are easy to use. Like, there's not a big learning curve for them. We call it like a dummy bait, if you will.
Are you going to make it cost effective as well? Try to.
Yeah, I mean, cost effective for
When
sure.
I say
like,
cost
what
effective,
does cost effective mean?
Okay,
Like,
not baits usually go for about $100 to $150. Are you going to
Yeah,
bring it a
minimum.
little lower than that?
oh yeah, definitely. Anytime you go full production, like, you're definitely going to see a cost savings on that side of things. The flip side too is like availability. We're going to make it more readily available for guys to get their hands on, and that's really what we want to do.
You think that's going to change your persona as being like the company that helps these little companies out and do collaborations, like almost like a sellout?
No, definitely not. Like,
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Kinda,
I totally get what you're saying. No, at the end of the day, we're still going to help these guys. Like, in the grassroots section, I was recently reading. There's a company called Little Piggy Swimbaits. They're guys that have been on the forums for a long time, and like, their stuff that they're starting to put out. I don't know if you've seen it. It's killer.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and these are two brothers. I think they're still in college, and like, what they're doing is slowly growing, and like, I've seen the progression as it's gone on, and like, what they're putting out now is outstanding. We're still going to be catering to guys like that, as well as what we're going to continue doing, where we, put out a more readily available product.
Which makes it almost like me and Gilbert were talking earlier, like something that you could go when someone suggests something like, oh, just learn how to do swim baits, what should I get? S-Waver, this. That would be something like, hey, it's a little more money than it would be for that, but you could go to Swimbait Underground and grab one of these.
Yeah, without a doubt.
It's
Like,
going to be a plastic bait, it's
going to be a hard bait.
but no, like not like a resin.
Injected.
Bait. Injected. there you
Yes,
go.
it's going to be injected. Like, resin is something that's hard to scale. You talk to any of the guys, like, you heard Caesar talking about it in his podcast, and anybody who does a lot of hard baits, like, the resin deal, it gets the job done, but it's hard to scale.
Yeah, of course. So is it going to be a multi-jointed or just...
First one, yeah, multi-joint.
Okay, cool.
Just a little bit different. Like, if you look at my Instagram, you'll see pictures of it. The bait's been out there. Mm-hmm. It's a cool bait. Does a little bit of everything. And
Who did you have? Do you mind telling me who you helped design the bait?
Who helped design it? Yeah. Well, with the first one, it was...
They're very secretive, and you don't want to,
Yeah, no, I'm
just
not
fucking with
secretive
you,
in that
Chris.
sense. But like, it was Jerry, Jerry Rago. I call him Uncle Jerry now because I talk to him all the time, and like, he's been instrumental as far as that bait goes. And it's a cool project. Now, is Jerry going to be the only guy that we do those kind of projects with? No. We've got other stuff lined up to where...
So you'd like to do like a production for different dudes.
Exactly.
Wow,
well, it might not be like the companies in general, but like projects with smaller guys that may not be able to do the mass production thing. Like, we should be able to figure something out for them.
So you're almost going to be like would you sell to stores?
I mean, we sell to stores currently with our gear, so it's possible that we do. We've got our retailers here in the United States as well as Japan, so those guys are going to be the first ones to get anything that we do, if we do have enough to make that happen. But as far as like, are you going to walk into Bass Pro Shops and see our stuff? No.
Just like, tackle shops as well. Like, you got...
Tackle shops, yeah.
You want to
East
put
County
it
Bait
in
and Tackle
tackle
here locally.
okay.
We're in San Diego. Those guys are here for sure. If we have something and it makes sense for them to carry, yeah. Up in Northern California, you got Coyote Bait and Tackle. Same thing.
But you
goes
could
for them.
provide that now as a thing to like tackle shops like more than just a couple because you'll be able to mass produce.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, in theory, that's how.
Would you want to though?
I mean, at the end of the day, like being able to get baits into guys' hands that catch fish and produce and are readily available, that I think that's the end goal for everybody.
Yeah. That's
'Cause,
like
like,
the
the-
closest way to do it, like as a bait, like a production, like bait
Yeah.
maker. Like,
I mean, it's hard. Like you see it all the time, I'm sure, online. Like I feel so bad for these bait makers. They put their heart and soul into these baits. They crank out as many as they can, you know, in the garage or factory, whatever they got. Not factory, but little shop that they got. And then like, boom, they sell it in 5 minutes, and everybody's pissed off because they didn't get one. You know what I mean?
but what do you do? Like we talk, it's like
Yeah.
there's nothing you can do.
There's no way around
right?
it. Like Matt, I mean, Matt's seen it. Like, heck, like I personally still go in and snag baits on those drops. Like it's part of the allure. Like I'm going in and I'm going to get them when I can. And number one, support the bait makers, but number two, get something that helps me catch fish at the end of the day.
No, I mean, yeah, I guess that's the worst part about this Swimbait community. Like when they have those drops, and then you got people that will flip them, and
A lot of flipping going on,
The
yeah.
funniest thing that I saw was Matt from '86
Yeah.
post on a page and go, "That bait's not worth that fucking much." It was his bait, and it made me fucking laugh my ass off.
Oh man, like you got to see those guys. It's you just can't control it. Like we've talked about it, and behind the scenes with different makers. Like what can you do? And like on the forum itself, there's a black market where you buy, sell, and trade. And like as far as it goes, there's no real rules other than swim bait only stuff. So let's say you got one of those baits from '86 drop, and you put it up there for $500. Like that's your asking price. Like we
if
can't say
someone
anything about
pays
it.
it's like,
Yeah.
fuck, dude.
That's the exact thing. Like the only way to stop this flipper market is people to stop buying the baits from them.
It's not gonna happen.
It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So like, it's a catch-22.
Yeah, and the cool thing is you're not like trying to like. That's not your spot to govern it.
No.
So you're like, hey, this is the black market. If someone wants to pay $1,000 for this bait, so be it.
Let's say you're on a hot bite and like you need that bait, it might be worth it for you.
Yeah.
If you're gonna win a tournament, $1,000 what it costs, and you're gonna win $5,000,
Right,
somebody's
that's
gonna
worth
do it.
Yeah.
Or somebody just wants a bait because it's a one-off or something special. It means something to them.
True.
People will spend in anything what they think they, want to spend. Like
Yeah.
there's no holds bar.
Yeah. And there's kind of a standard, right? For baits, like usually bait makers will set a standard like what they like to charge.
Yeah, the
Right.
bait makers, first and foremost, those guys got to get paid. I think the secondary market's always going to be there. It's just like
Yeah.
anything else. Like look at anything that's
Could offer up.
yeah.
You get guys going, I'll give you, I want $200. I'll give you 10.
I had a buddy that put a Conquest up for sale recently, and Conquest, $500-$600 reel.
Yeah.
Guy offered him $100, and he'd come pick it up right away.
Dude, I don't understand. It's like, hey, I paid $500, but you know what? You could have it for $100, buddy.
You look like a nice guy. You got it.
Dude, it's horrible. And I think it's like that with everything right now. Social media. I mean, seeing the growth of Swimbait Underground just over 10 years and like how big it is now. Swimbait fishing is so big.
Yeah.
You feel like you have a bigger presence now on the East Coast, Central America,
Central
like
America or the
I'm sorry,
Midwest?
Midwest, I apologize.
Yeah, like Central
America,
we don't
where
really get
Manny
into.
T's from.
Shout out Manny, who's less Chinese than he thought he was. I love that story. I can't believe you guys didn't get into it on his podcast. I
I
listened
know.
to it this morning.
We were going through so much crap, Life lessons for my son, from your brother telling,
Yeah,
Like, you got to learn them when you can take them.
yeah, across the United States, like we're starting to see all kind there's orders that come in from all over, and it's awesome to see, and it's a great indication of where the market's going, and we're kind of on the forefront of something enormous. Like it's changing. I've talked to other guys in the industry about it. Like things are going in a direction that none of us have ever seen. I mean, just look at guys like we already talked about: Gilbert, Matt from '86, Caesar from Toxic, Clayton from Sly Guy, Eric from UFO. These guys are all full-time bait makers now. Like these are all guys that in the last 10 years have started making baits and doing what they're doing, and it's awesome.
No, I agree 100%. So now this is a question. I think a lot of people think like, hey, if I can get in with Swimbait Underground as a bait maker, my shit's going to blow up. Which isn't true sometimes. It just depends on the bait, And I guess this is a hard one to put. I got to think
Just
about
ask it, man.
I'm
It's
trying
okay.
to think, dude. Fuck, man. Because I could talk. So this is the thing. I talked to Chris on the phone. So it's hard for me to do a professional serious. I'm looking at you and I want to laugh and say something.
Yeah, but you should.
But it's a hard way for me to do. This is the first for me, because it's like, okay, I did Gilbert, and it was kind of like, it was a little more friendly. This is way different because you were like a robot in the beginning, and now you're like, when I come over and we hang out, go get some beers or, hey, fucking around. So it's more professional. So it's kind of like, what I want to try to say is like, I feel like people want to come on my podcast because they think it's going to be promotional, when it's not really. People want you to do collaboration with them because they think it's going to blow up their bait, when it's not.
At the end of the day, like they've got, so if the way that you
get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
Right?
So like you could phrase it that way. Like people want to go on the podcast because they think it's going to help explode their brand. People want to do a collaboration with you because the same thing. Like, but at the end of the day, like for us, it's all about fish catches. Like, whatever ends up happening, these baits have to catch fish. That's it.
We're gonna get a bait and fish it. Like if a bait shows up, you better believe within the first 48 hours, I will have it. I'll have it down at the lake, and I'll be messing with it. How
many times have you been disappointed?
I mean,
I'm not saying who did it, but it's like how many times you got a bait and you're
realistic,
like, fuck, man, I thought this was gonna,
Now, I mean, not as often as in the beginning. In the beginning, you had a lot of guys that would rush things to the market, bring it to the market, and they were horrible.
Yeah.
They didn't swim. They didn't put the time. They just, they carved a halfway decent bait, and they figured, hey, I'm going to make some money. I'm sure there's a ton of those guys out there. I kind of now won't even really pay attention to a bait unless I see multiple people catching fish on it, whether it's from locally, which usually is not the case, whether it's a small bait maker back east or something making baits. You're going to see guys from around his area that are in contact with him catching fish. And if there's catching fish, and then you get it to your water, and even if it doesn't do exactly what you think, sometimes it takes a little figuring out. So, but yeah, nowadays it's more guys know what they're doing. They have a lot, the process is a lot more dialed in than in the beginning.
How do you go about choosing the bait you want to work with, though, the bait maker?
Just totally depends. Like,
do you kind of try to choose from the form?
Yeah, the form is a huge way to do it. Like that for us is it's kind of a way for us to see the progression of these guys and
you gotta fix the mic because you can't hear yourself. So it's if you had the headphones on, you'd be able to know. But
yeah, I don't wear headphones. So yeah, like being able to go on the forum and check into baits and kind of see what's out there it's a huge tool for us. Like Matt was saying, being able to fish the baits and just kind of something that might catch our eye, whatever it might be, like new styles of baits or new techniques or things like that. Like there's really no formula, if you will, for getting into like a collaboration stage. And more than anything, it's just talking. Like I can't tell you how many conversations we had with people where it's like, hey, right now might not be the right time, or you might have something that's awesome, but you might not be able to produce enough of it for us to make it make sense for everybody.
That's the hard part, right? It's like, it takes how long to bang out 60 baits, 70 baits? Like, dude.
100, man. Like it's
what do you guys usually do?
Yeah, minimum
100.
Yeah, like that's.
So you're planning these drops like probably 6 months in advance.
Yeah, like right now I'm putting the calendar together for 2021, and I've already started talking to bait makers about February and April. Like it just totally depends. Like, and more importantly, I want them to be able to make their normal allotment. But hey, if you can, while you're making those baits, sprinkle in a few extras for us and like just get it going. But it's so funny. You see some of the comments online of people like, oh yeah, you guys only had 10 baits and you gave 3 of them to your friend. It's like, no, that's not how it goes. Like you just did a pod with Gilbert. Like the perception is that we're like siphoning these baits off and they're going to certain people. Like reality is pretty simple.
Who? It's like,
yeah, who?
You know what I'm saying? Like
this guy.
We know.
I take a bait.
But usually. The thing is like, you guys know, you're all, we know everyone's buddies, or everyone that's been on this podcast have been buddies. Who is going to, like, Manny's like, he fishes the depths a lot or whatever.
Yeah.
He talks to Pano. Whatever comes into you, DRT, whatever it might be, it's like, it's not like you're going, oh, hey, guess what, Manny? Yeah. I got 10 of these fucking baits for you. They're coming your way. No,
that's not how it goes at all. Like first and foremost, like I think I mentioned it on the first podcast, like there's been times where I have to go back to the bait maker and say, hey, can you make me another one? of these because I didn't even keep one for myself.
Yeah.
And then so after that happened, like in the initial drops, like now every time we keep one bait for the SU collection as well as one for the battle winner. They get one of every bait at the end of every year. So that's the tournament that we host. So those two get stashed, and then like we're not talking about a huge number of baits.
And you don't have any laying around. Usually you buy one, or like you said, you got it sitting there.
Go get them.
Yeah. Well, I think that's just social media. You've seen it grow over fucking how long?
Wild.
You know,
yeah,
like
I've been online
wild.
for a long time. Like,
And I'm sure it's hard to even like respond to people.
No, I don't.
Dude.
I don't. It's not even worth my time. But like, you just see these things. You're like, man, if you guys really knew what was going on, like we do everything in our power to get as many baits to the end consumer, like the end user, as we possibly can. Because at the end of the day, like, what is a bait in a box, or what does it do? Like giving it to a friend doesn't help the business. It doesn't help anybody. Like, we want to sell baits that catch fish, and we want to get as many to them as the people as we can.
No, I agree 100%. That's just a hard thing to go about, but it's cool that you're giving some of these people a chance. And it's like, if you've been with us doing the forums, learning how to make baits, you're going to be like, Matt was probably on the forum a lot, right?
Yeah.
86 baits.
What, I can't remember what his
Hairdresser 91.
No, I know that, of course.
No, I'm saying that was his
Stylist.
tag name.
Yeah.
The stylist.
No, hardcore.
Hey, Frohawk.
No, I don't know his handle on the forum. It was like MJH86 or something, like whatever it was. It wasn't 86 baits. And like, that's another thing. Like, we get bait makers that come in and like just come in with bait company name as their username. It's like, sorry, dude, like, we're not going to let you spam the boards. Like, I know the guys that are there, like, I could see it. It's like, hey, this is my first bait and I'm starting to carve it and I'm doing this. And like, you watch the progression and it's awesome.
That's a hard one. It's hard to see how many people are like, there's only so many ways to do a glide.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, thinking outside the box is another thing you're looking at, is like, man, this guy maybe added something in the back, or the tail's a little different, or,
But what's next? Like, the
you
glide
know what
bait's
I
been
saw?
done.
You know what I'm going to say for me is when you mentioned, what is that little thing called with the fucking wings?
Crawler? Oh, those are sick.
When you mentioned that, right after that podcast, like maybe about a couple months later, I saw everyone and their mom throwing them.
Yeah, so they
like,
become really popular here in the States. And
right?
like, that's actually another bait that we have coming up. A guy by the name of Kuroto over in Japan. We have his little crawler. It's called the Monster. It's a one piece. It's probably, was it like 2 ounce?
I want to say it's 2 ounce bait. It might be even 1.5.
Mm-hmm.
It's a smaller crawler, but like,
It casts like a bullet. It's
Really?
a little, basically.
But that's like something that has gotten a lot more popular. Probably maybe from you guys. I mean,
it's,
do you kind of
it's just
consider that
natural
a little bit of a, like, what do you consider a swim bait? Is that a swim bait?
It's a great question. Like, there's been that topic of discussion's been open on the forum since it started. Like, what is a swim bait? Is a crawler bait a swim bait? Is a punker a swim bait? Like, of all these things, they're like a big bait versus swim bait or whatever it might be. The crawler is something new for sure. I don't think it's terminal tackle. Like, you're not going to throw that bait on a traditional bass rod, without a doubt.
You got to have its own rod for that bait.
Yeah, I mean, swim bait rod, of course.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
like, what you fishing mostly like medium heavy or heavy on
I
that?
fish it with the little Monster or medium heavy. I mean, you could definitely fish a heavy, no problem. But I like to, it's the same, fish it with the same rod as my Tiny Clash.
And you got a good fish on it over the summer, wasn't it?
Yeah, I
Was
had
that on the
one.
one piece or on the two piece?
It was on the one piece.
Oh, they make a 2-piece crawler as well.
Yeah, we've done those. It's called the Battle Wing. We did those a couple years ago. And it's a great bait too. This is just a different style, like trying to keep it fresh and something different. So we should have, I think, 3 colors come in, all the one piece, 100 of them.
Mm-hmm. That's a good amount.
Yeah, 100 of them. It's great.
How quick do they leave?
Dude, as soon as they show up.
That's what he said. 30 seconds, Gilbert said.
Yeah. Oh, Gilbert's stuff was 30. Yeah. So
that's
I was in on that
wild.
drop. I bought the tiny
got
on
it?
Saturday. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm sitting there panicking.
Hey,
right?
how do you get... So tell people what you did to get one.
What did I do?
Yes. Because people go, I tried and fucking bullshit. And
I called Gilbert and I said, hey, put one aside for me. No, I'm kidding. No, I swear. I actually purchased that.
you didn't get online and try
I
to
went
get-
online
Oh,
just
you
like
did?
everybody
Okay.
else. That's part of the fun. Like what we do, the drops are like part of the allure. Like,
It's like
can
a
I get it
gambling.
on it?
It's like gambling. Oh,
I mean, yeah, I don't really gamble, but all the money goes to fun stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no, I'm saying it's
Yeah,
like
no,
that high.
there's
That high
definitely a
gambling,
rush
you
for
know,
sure.
like,
And
yeah.
like, every once in a while, I'll like, if I'm by my phone and I happen to remember that the drop's at that time, sure, I pop in. So yeah, I popped in, added it to my car. Well, first and foremost. So if you read Gilbert's newsletter, Got to read the newsletter, but the newsletter gives you a quick breakdown. And same goes for our website, like Swimbait Underground. If you're buying on Swimbait Underground, have an account. Have an account with your billing information, your card set up. All that stuff should be there. Go to the store ahead of time. Add a sticker to the cart. Walk all the way through the checkout process until the last button that says pay. Everything's saved. Then right as 12 o'clock or 10 o'clock, whatever it might be, you add that bait to your cart and get out. That's it. Don't go back and try to get, I didn't even get 2. I just got 1. I grabbed it. And feels great to get it, you know? So then Gilbert,
I love how you said, I called Gilbert, told him to put one
no,
aside.
the best is he calls me after. Like the next day, and I'm like, yeah, man. He goes, hey, what's going on with you buying the bait? I'm like, oh, I was on there, I grabbed one. He's like, oh, that's awesome. So, obviously, if I called Gilbert, he would have set one aside for me, just because, anyway.
But it's because you want to know why? And they said the same fucking thing.
It's more fun. And if we don't have
you're friends. Of course I'm going to give you some shit if you're my friend.
Right.
It's like, why wouldn't I give you fucking baits? You know,
But
and
at the same time, there was a ton of baits. So even with all that process, I went ahead and I did the entire thing. My PayPal was loaded. Everything was set to go. I hit checkout and I sat there and I watched the PayPal spin and spin and spin. Felt like 5 minutes. It was like, might have been 30 seconds, and it said, boom, you got it. I was like, oh, yes. It's a good feeling. But there's other times where you hit that go, and then you get what they call cart jacked. And people assume that we're sitting there dictating.
Cart jack that motherfucker.
Like we're dictating who gets what. Like everything's automated. We put up the inventory, and it goes. Payment process, all that stuff, depends on your internet speed, and if you have your PayPal and all that stuff. We don't control it after we hit publish and hit inventory.
Yeah.
That's it.
When did all this happen? When did the whole bait drop thing where shit started going, oh man, people are going crazy for baits now when we're dropping them, everybody. When did it really start happening?
It's been going on forever. The best, back in the day, before social media, it would happen randomly, and you wouldn't know about it. You'd go on the forum, and they'd be like, oh, bait X, Y, and Z is ready to go, and it just, boom, you popped up, and you just happened to luck into it. Nobody was saying anything. Or, you happen to know the bait maker or a friend of the bait maker, and they would say, oh, those are up right now. You'd go grab them, and they'd be gone. Let's say you didn't happen to check the forum that night. You go look the next morning, everybody's like, oh, got one. And then you're like, oh, shit.
What form was the original form?
Before, so.
What was the first one you went on?
The first one that I went on was Swimbait Nation.
Okay.
Before that was Cal Fishing, I think, as far as big bait stuff goes. If you look back, Cal Nation or Cal Fishing is still up. Some of the old school guys, from up north, names I remember, Baloney and Nico. I don't remember Nico's last name, but they post some rad stuff on there. You go back and you look at some giant swimbait fish caught. So that's kind of the transition. It was Cal Fishing to Nation, and I picked up Nation toward the end, and then 10 years ago this week, Swimbait Underground. Yeah.
So when you became part of that, was that were you admin on Nation or anything?
No, I was totally green as far as Nation goes, and there was a ton of content, and just I was there just buying baits and I don't know what they called it, by the classifieds or whatever, and reports and stuff. I don't even think I posted reports because I hadn't caught anything at that point. I can still remember catching that first fish where you're like, oh, this is sweet.
What bait was it on?
My first technical swimbait fish was on the freestyle shad floater. It was cool, white one at night.
Were you fishing swimbait already?
No, he wasn't fishing at that. He hadn't started fishing them yet.
No,
not really.
That's a nice. How big was that fish?
At least 14
inches.
No, I'm just kidding. Dude, it's 2-pounder at night,
What's your PB?
A little over 11, 11.
Really? Locally?
Good fish. Yeah.
Really?
El Cap, when they were stocking trout, water was up. So here locally, they lowered San Vicente to raise the dam 100 feet. When they did that, they put all the water in, where was it? It was El Cap, and where else? Otay. Those 2 lakes. Simultaneously, they started stocking trout at Otay, heavily, and at El Cap, where El Cap they hadn't stocked trout forever. I was talking to actually Gilbert and Jerry about that this week. That period was unbelievable.
Really?
Yeah. El Cap was firing big time at that time. What? I got my big fish. You guys won night tournaments on swim baits. Menzel.
Yeah, we had fish. Menzel had a 13 during a day tournament on a swim bait. We had fish, 10. We had a 12-pounder was actually on a drop shot. in the
What
tournament.
did you catch him?
The 12-pounder came on drop. I didn't let me rephrase
drop
that.
shot.
Noe caught it.
No, Menzel caught that fish on drop shot. Hey, I've never been one to say that it can't work. But, we have we were catching a lot of 9 and 8 and 9 pound fish.
Was
on
everybody
the rats.
catching them, or you guys were just catching them?
I mean, the guys were catching them. The guy who I ended up fishing with, Noy, him and his buddy Jimmy had, I want to say they had, we got second place in one tournament with 21.5 pounds. I want to say they weighed 20.
3 fish, right?
3 fish.
21 and a half.
And I'm pretty sure they weighed in 3 fish for, it was either 25 or 28. They had they had a 12, an 11, and like a 9.
You never see that again, huh?
No, and I mean, so yeah, guys were catching them on the jig, weighing in big back. We'd get bit by guys with 3 8-pounders on fishing jigs and stuff. So everyone kind of was catching fish, and you can go catch them on deep cranks and everything.
Just a good time.
Yeah, like
a
just
good
The
area.
lake was just spectacular.
it was
fishing.
at that point in time you had a lake that had mostly just seen smaller bait fish, shad and things like that. They raised the water level, and it's a lot of big chunk rock and like giant boulders. So stuff that is now out of water was underwater, and those fish were just sitting on new ambush points, and just it was a lot of fun.
This is right when the glide baits kind of came
Really
to the
came
market.
big.
Yeah, the 250 was
You could fit, like you could basically go up to a tree and be like, "Oh, I'm gonna get in and get 4 cranks on it, make it twitch, and a fish will come out." And you could go down the bank and have 25, 30 pounds a day consistently.
No, you just can't do that.
totally different game. They stop stocking trout,
Yeah.
things change up. But, as anglers, we always have to evolve too. Like, guys are still catching fish at those lakes, just not the quality that they were at the time. They're still getting them on glide baits on different stuff, but it's just different than it was. It sound like an old timer.
You gotta put. Right.
Yeah.
It still bites good.
Yeah.
They all still bite. All of our lakes still bite good. There's not that you can't go catch a fish. It's just what size of fish you're trying to catch. I mean, if you wanted to go fish swim baits and catch 3 to 4 pounders, you should be able to go get 4 or 5 good opportunities a day out here. I mean, it's gonna happen.
Getting a double digit. How rare do you think that is now?
Matt's the king of them. Just ask him.
It's-
As far as it goes.
When's the
here.
last time you caught a double digit?
Down here, I want to say it's been like 3 years now.
That's a long time, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
When's the last time someone's caught a nice double digit out of a lake recently?
Somebody did a podcast with Colin recently, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
I did.
Yeah. Not. I mean, what do you consider nice? Like, we're talking fish that just
Over 10
eat by
I mean,
10.
there was maybe 3 fish over 9 pounds weighed in tournaments at El Cap this season.
Okay.
Where that would be a normal tournament. That would be one day we'd have 4 fish over 9 pounds.
Yeah.
So that's
Getting
kind
a 10 is hard nowadays, right?
It's tough. Like the down here in Southern California, like the trout stocks are really limiting. It changes the dynamic for everybody. But that's not to say there aren't 10-pounders out there all the time. Like, 10-pounders are caught all the time.
See, that's like when I was talking to Manny. I'm like, so he says Arizona, you add a couple pounds. Swim it. You guys do that on the tournament, right?
Yeah, after I listened to that podcast today, I started thinking about the handicap, and I think we might have removed it because at that time dudes were catching
God, I
like
fucked
between
it up.
8.
Sorry.
It's all right. Guys were catching 8 to 10 like pretty regularly, and I'm like, damn, this is. So we took the handicap away, but I guess we'll probably have to put it back now as the die off and things just totally change.
Yeah.
I think there you're looking at like maybe 1.5 pounds is what it might be.
East Coast, same thing. Do they
East
get a
Coast, you got like up to 3 pounds.
Really?
Yeah, some of the smaller. It's all based on state record. So you look,
that's what you guys do. Okay.
yeah. So there's a chart on the subsection. You look at the state record, and we just kind of like I don't know. I'm kind of a spreadsheet nerd at times, and like I started looking at numbers, and I'm like, all right, these guys all kind of fit into one category size wise. These guys, and we just established the handicap for the different states, and it's. I mean, hey, there's no perfect system. I mean, at the end of the day, you're looking at the United States from East Coast to West Coast, North to South, like totally different landscapes and different fisheries. But, we try to make it as competitive as possible.
Who do you think's thriving statewise right now?
I mean, thriving?
Well, because you get to see all these people enter their fish.
Yeah, like guys. I mean, guys.
Texas.
Yeah.
You get guys from Florida.
Yeah, I see a lot from Keith.
Massachusetts.
Keith, yeah.
Yeah, Keith's killing it. He's doing a great job, and like, just a totally different vibe there. Massachusetts guys are guys are catching big fish everywhere. Central California, Northern California, guys are catching big fish. You might not see it as much. The guys that are really good are quiet with it. Like that's how you know. Like guys I talk to, I'm like, you get one? Yeah, I got some good ones. Like,
Are people still catching 12s and 13s and 14s?
we had it.
You don't have to say who it is. It's like,
No.
but if you get a report of it, it's like, fuck.
Yeah, up north. I mean, what do you hear?
Guys catch big, but like even I think it's blown out of proportion. Like a 12-pound fish here, still a 13-pound fish is rare. Like even back when it was as good as it was, those fish weren't coming. Maybe 1-2 per lake per year.
But you're not going to get that now.
You still
Those
can.
fish are still there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe they're not as big, though, because they're not eating the same.
They just don't have the same want and need to be up shallow. They're out pelagic swimming in the middle of the lake.
Pelagic.
They don't need to.
This
when,
guy-
They're on
tuna-
kelp patties.
Calm down, Tuna Tom.
when you see shad balls that are 30 feet across and 25 feet deep,
Mm-hmm.
and you see fish sitting underneath them in the middle of the lake in 60 feet, and you go up around the bank and you see nothing. I mean, where would you be if you were trying to eat consistently?
Under
Where
the
all your
shad
food
balls,
is.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's crappie out there. There's bluegill out there.
Do you agree with him?
Because you catch big. I know guys that hook big ones on little, the wrong gear pretty consistently.
The wrong gear.
Well, I mean, it's not a swing. You're not
Yeah.
hooking it with the 2 or 3/0 hook in its face. You're
Yeah.
hooking it with a little tiny size 6 treble hook on the bottom of a ice jig or whatever they are, and
Axe blade.
yeah,
That's
axe
my
blade.
shit, bro.
I mean, there's baits. Yeah, they get bit, and those fish just know how to throw those baits. By the time they're that big, it doesn't take much. You don't have control with the little rod. It all goes back to proper control over a big fish.
It's you feel like a 10 or 12 or 13 is like the big fish nowadays. You catch one of those for this time frame, it's like that's like a record fish for you. Like you're not going to see that again. Probably.
Like at the end of the day, whatever the right fish for your area is, like you might be on the East Coast and maybe a 7-pounder is awesome, or maybe that's what you're stoked with. Like at the end of the day, that's really what it comes down to. Like what's a big fish for your waters, and what are you really targeting? That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, it's just crazy because you're not going to see like those 17s. Like you probably would,
like
dude.
There's still lakes with those fish swimming around.
Yeah.
But you're just not going to get them to eat the way you would want them to eat.
They might.
Yeah.
We'll
Any
see how it
given
goes
day,
this year.
one big fish makes a dumb mistake.
Yep. We're talking about putting together a trip. Some of the guys in February, like fishing, camping, stay out of the lake, like some stuff where there's promising fish, and we'll see how it goes.
That'd
Probably
be
get
cool.
our asses kicked, but it's all
Still
good.
try, right?
Still try.
Have you been to, was it Baccarat?
No, I haven't been to Mexico to fish. Well, freshwater. We grew up growing in Mexico in Baja.
Yeah.
For salt, but I've never been down there. That place is kicking out big fish. I saw some guys recently like drove down there.
How big are the fish there?
I mean, you don't see any true giants, but you're seeing healthy 8 to 11s.
Wow. And you're catching a lot of them, I'm sure, right?
I don't know.
You
Never
need to
been. I
find
mean,
out,
that's what
dude.
the kids say online. I see them.
You know these kids.
Yeah. Cast and blast.
That's who we're talking about, huh?
Yeah.
That kid down there.
Yeah.
But you guys are going to go hunt too, then you've been hunting a lot more lately.
Been
right?
hunting a little bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
during the winter. It's funny. I was talking to somebody about it this week, and I found that the years that I spend my time really dedicating to swim baits and the big bait, November, December, January, by the time like February comes where things really start to turn, I'm burned out. So I've been trying to kind of find different things to do during these winter months and then gear up at the end of January, beginning of February.
That's your month you like to fish, the months you like to fish?
I mean, yeah, the key is getting them when they're as big as they can be and not on beds. Like, there's nothing worse than going down to the lake and seeing them all on beds, and it's either you're too early, too late. But that particular group of fish has already moved up. You want to get them before they get up.
Yeah. The weather's been crazy. That's the other thing.
Yeah,
It's like warm as shit, dude.
but
for
still
the ti-
super cold in the mornings. Like we're
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
30s and 40s. Like it's different and dry too.
Yeah. Oh, fuck yeah. Keep thinking I have COVID all the time because I have a runny nose or...
Yeah. I guess. But you already got the vaccine, so you don't have to worry
Yeah,
about it.
exactly. I'm fine. I'm growing a third leg out of my rectum. Let's get to some of these.
I thought you didn't want to talk about inappropriate things.
I'm sorry. Gosh, dude. Let's see. Let's get to these questions, guys. Let's go to news first. Of course, I don't get reception here. All right, this is from Bradley Ross. Both of you guys can answer these. Maybe you have a different opinion. It's winter. You're shore pounding at a spot you've never been to, and the easy access you found looks pressured forage. It's probably finfish. You want to throw a swim bait. What style of bait? How will you fish it? What will set you apart for that bite?
Is it a trout-fed lake? Is it like shad? It's totally different. I know Matt
Well,
would probably say like
He
nice soft
says
bait.
it's finfish, so he's talking about shad lake.
Shad lake?
Shad lake.
I mean, it really depends on where the fish tend to set up on structure. You can target them with, any sort of 6 or 8 inch bait, battle shad, something. It depends on how much weed coverage. Yeah, there's a lot of options. Definitely usually would be a soft bait for me.
That's your go-to.
During the winter time, especially, our water, we don't get crazy cold water, but our water, once it drops below 50 degrees, it seems like the soft bait bite kind of picks up a little bit more, gets off a hard bait bite.
And you can just fish it slower. Like that's, I think, one of the biggest things, and Matt can attest, like guys, a lot of the reel companies are really catering to faster reels for the hard bait type stuff. Like I can't stress it enough to some of these different soft baits. Like just slow it down. Get yourself a 5 and just slow it down.
You'd rather have someone fish like a 5 because you know they're going to burn it too fast.
Yeah.
If that's something faster.
Without a doubt. Like everybody says you can slow your reel speed down, but like you can't. I don't know.
It doesn't, yeah.
I agree. I want to go faster all the time.
Yeah.
What reels would you guys recommend? What do you like to use?
We're a little bit different on that. Matt fishes.
I fish the Daiwa stuff, so right now, like with my little soft baits, I'll fish the Ryoga 1550. I fish a lot of the Plutons, and then a lot of the big soft baits with paddle tails. Will fish a faster gear ratio reel, and I fish the big shrapnel.
That's a JDM reel built for snakehead. It's like the size
really?
of like a Conquest 400, but it's got like what 6.3?
Yeah,
I think
it's 6.3
wow.
to 1.
Wow.
It's a nice reel. For me right now, my go-to reel's been the Conquest DC 250. It's a little bit smaller.
You like the smaller reel, huh?
Well, for 20 pound, it's everything I need.
What baits are you throwing on that?
Oh man, pretty much everything.
Really?
I could throw. I'm comfortable throwing up to like an 8-inch Hud, big soft
Really?
bait, battle shad. Yeah. So between that and then I'll bump up to like, is it 250 or 200? I think it's 200. They used to have the 250, but now it's the 200. So that, and then the Conquest 300.
You like those two? Those are your go-to?
Yep. And then for like the big glide stuff, like that Frenzy that we posted, the new one that's coming out, we just picked up some of the Tatula 300s that are 8 to 1 for like the big glide where you need to pick up a lot of line fast, but like that's very specialized.
You like those?
Don't know. I don't have one yet. Looks good.
Do you like them?
I haven't gotten my hands on one of the Tatula 300s. I fished the Tatula Mago M3.
Yeah.
And the JDM version of the Gangcraft. And yeah, I've thrown baits as have
I
the
got to use
Frenzy
the
on it with
300.
no problem.
I liked it for salt.
Tatula?
Yeah.
Look at you.
What? It wasn't mine. I just used it.
Look at you.
Bobby Big Dick.
Bobby
had it.
Big Dick let you use it?
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
I use all Tatulas on my 200 reels.
Yeah, they're good.
So
good
I
reels.
really like them. I can cast a mile with them.
They have a really good. So as far as like finding slower gear ratio reels goes, it's a little more difficult. But that Ryoga that Matt was talking about, the small ones, slow gear ratio, the crazy cranker. Daiwa makes I just picked one up recently and put braid on it. They make a
Zillion.
Zillion.
15.
15, 20, I think. Crazy Cranker also, and that's
Okay.
like a 4.6 or like super slow.
Yeah.
That's a nice reel. Like anything in that smaller size for the smaller baits works, but then the go-to for me is the Conquest.
Holds
Try-
a lot of line.
Yeah, holds enough, more than enough. 20
Yeah.
pound, like I don't.
Oh, what do you use again? 20-pound what?
20 pound Iser Triple X.
Really?
That's my go-to.
That's all for everything.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, like if
Your punkers, will you run braid?
I'm not
braid.
like a big punker guy.
No.
That bite here, like it's San Diego, is pretty
No
tough.
good. Punkers?
Yeah, I'll fish braid on my topwater baits with a super heavy, short
Leader.
fluoro or mono leader on
Yeah.
front of it. So something that's stiff enough that you're not going to get that bait to foul hook a lot.
Yeah.
That's the key. Like
Like a foot and a half.
Some of the punkers that Matt has, like he'll put what do you put in
Epoxy,
the putty or
like
epoxy
putty
in the
that you
line
can
tie,
mix up.
Oh, shit.
so that it goes in the line tie so that the line won't like go down and hook into itself.
Oh, it's a good. Man, you could really learn a lot if you actually listen to you guys, you know? I go.
I don't know why anybody would. Is there anybody still listening?
This is an idiot. It's filthy. Kyle, my friend, you're a fucking asshole. Your favorite places to target bass in steep, deep Cali lakes? Blunt Customs.
Where do you like?
Structure, points. I mean, it basically all comes down to ambush points again.
Trees.
You're not going to catch fish casting out. And to listen back to Manny's podcast, and he was talking about the same thing. Figure out your ambush points, where the fish are. If you're not getting bit, try it from every different angle you can imagine, whether you have to put your boat up on the bank to get it to go right. Sometimes that's what it takes. And
Sometimes you got to park the boat up on shore and make the cast from shore, like if that's what it takes.
Cheater.
Is that not allowed? I mean, not in a tournament. We're not tournament fishing. are
Short
we?
pound. Only short pounders can do that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Do you use your electronics a lot when you're out there?
Yeah. Fair amount.
Are you like Gilbert, where you would turn it all off when you're coming up on something?
I don't personally know anybody that's as attention to detail when it comes to that stuff as Gilbert. Like
Yeah.
he's so cerebral when it comes to his approach. It's just it's a whole nother level.
You don't do that.
To answer your question, no, I don't.
That's what I wanted.
I mean, we do
answer.
turn them off. Like structure scan, Matt likes to run it a lot. I'll traditionally have it off, but like as far as putting the thing in standby mode, like
Nah.
it happens.
if we're know what we're doing, I don't need a fish finder. They will. When I was catching fish consistent and I was fishing a lot, my fish finder stayed off. They aren't gonna do anything
You're
or
just
show
looking
me.
for what you.
I mean, you fish the
Maybe
lakes enough, you
turn
know
them
what
on.
it is.
Look at the water temperature. For me, honestly, I know more about what's going on in the lake on the bottom composition, whether it's green slime growing or weeds are still on the bottom, just by what water temperature it is.
Wind, stuff like that.
So, yeah, I mean, basically it's a water temperature device. Like I said, our lakes are really small. Tournament fishing up at some of the bigger lakes will come in handy, but for the most part, it's
off.
It's off.
Yeah.
If I know what, maybe I'll graph something, come back later to fish it
Yeah.
if I see something.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be turned off for the majority because, those big fish are sensitive to those things.
Yep. And like as far as it goes, when you're really finding, like you were talking earlier about those big schools of shad or whatever it is, if you're on that bite, like finding that stuff, marking it, coming back later, like those are all good things to do. Or
Yeah.
like you see some structure, mark it, come back, but like come in a different mode, go to standby, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
But it's hard to constantly manage all that stuff. So like Matt was saying, just don't turn them on. Although
go.
I've heard like a lot of good things about the new electronics, like some game changing stuff. We
Yeah.
just
It's crazy.
haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah. This is from California Filthy Fishing. What's each one of your confidence baits, and how much does that change in each season of the year?
Confidence baits.
Yeah.
Whoa, you want us to give up the spots too?
See, this is the what? Help it? Fuck, man.
No, I'm just kidding.
What? Okay.
Well, here,
confidence
like,
type of bait.
genre. Yeah, like
Type of
I'll
bait,
get
genre.
I'll get specific with like we talk about baits all
God,
the
you
time.
fucking
and
San Diego goes real fucking touchy.
Gotta be tight-lipped, man.
Fuck me.
last thing I want to do is blow up anybody's bite.
No, of course.
No, but the dog's going over there to attack Nick. It's almost dinner time.
You
for
thought I
him.
was a gardener.
Yeah.
No, but really, like glide
Yeah, so as
bait,
far as it
whatever.
goes, like for me personally, I love like topwater bite, like because I fish a lot at night. So anything that's slow moving up top at night with like certain like characteristics as far as like sound profile goes. I want it to wake on a 5-1 and like just barely put it in gear. Like for me, that's it on the darkest nights. Like right now, new moon, no moon up at night. Like these are times when I'd be out and about during spring, summer, fall. That's it. Then as it comes to winter, I really like to transition into something with like soft bait, whatever it might be, whether it's a battle shad or a HUD or whatever.
Yeah.
And then so those two, and then the last area that I really like to focus on is like I really got into it last year. It's dead slow. So anything that you can cast out, crank down, and also keep at a slow pace, but keep it in contact with the bottom. It's like a crankbait, but like super slow. To where
How
it's
deep are they? How deep are you getting those things to go?
It totally depends. Like you can add weight to whatever it is. Like last year, I was doing very well on the Tiny Clash with the I don't know what mode it was, like standard lip with the V tail.
How much weight can you add to the Tiny Clash?
This guy is the guy that knows.
Oh, this
all
is
that
like
stuff.
DIY. Doing
Yeah, like totally
okay,
just
okay.
whatever it is.
Okay.
You know though, don't you? Like how many lead strips?
I mean, so with the tiny, it depends. First of all, it all depends on your water temperature and what's going on. I mean, you can add as much lead as you want to it, make it sink to the bottom and fish on the bottom, and it's gonna get you bit too.
Yeah.
If it's me, I want that bait to almost suspend. So when you reel it down and you stop, it will float up. It's basically a super, super heavy float.
Yeah.
So it'll float back up, but it's going to take a while. I want to say it's like 1.2 grams of lead in the front of the hook, and I want it.
Damn, you
Wait,
really
no.
broke it down.
Yeah,
Fuck,
like it's
man.
sick.
No,
I just give them to him and I'm like, here.
How do you figure this shit out? Just try it yourself, trial and error?
Yeah.
that helped when we were back in Japan talking to the guys. In Japan, they actually sell pre-weighted lead strips. So you can say, like, okay, these ones are 1.2, these ones are 3.2. Just like they have those grenade weights that are really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
They have them in all different sizes. You can just put it on your front hook, basically, hook hanger,
Yeah.
clip a weight on there, and you're good to go. But the one thing there is everything's meant to be customized. Not a bait comes out of the package in Japan.
Okay,
And
that's your
those-
next question. You guys are coming right into that.
Like, yeah, not a guy that comes in, goes and gets a bait from the store in Japan. He usually takes it and just goes and fishes it. They're very intuitive to, like, they try new things. They're always trying to figure out how to make a bait do something different. So whether it's weight, they all know basic,
Weight, hooks, whatever it might be.
they figure out the fine details of baits that get overlooked here a lot. You might say this bait isn't doing it right. I do change the hooks out, and it could do something completely different.
Matt brought up, he kind of touched on it, and like something that really sticks out to me is like guys are always searching for the silver bullet, like the things that's going to catch them the next fish. Like it's not that. It's not the
Right,
bait.
yeah.
Don't chase the bait. Like,
And I love that on your podcast. You kind of said, hey, it's the fisherman. Like, I could take this and probably outfish you.
yeah,
I gave you Roman made, and you're like, yeah, I'll figure it out.
yeah, he'll figure
You
it
know,
out.
like, yeah.
Like that's just going to happen. But you really got to dedicate time to each and every one of these baits. Like, so
Start small.
yeah, exactly. So exactly it. Start small, slow reel. Get yourself 3 baits and just go to work and like
How
learn
long
the
are you
craft.
putting into all those baits, though?
Dude, I mean, like, what's time? It just totally depends on conditions.
I mean, I'm still fish Tiny Clash. I've been fishing it, I don't know, 5 years now. For how long? However long ago.
But now
we
is it
got
a
'em.
bait where you like, I
I
think
still
you said,
can figure something out every
New.
single.
New, okay.
Totally.
There's still always an whether it's me putting weight on the back half of the bait or me talking to one of the guys, and usually it comes from seeing them do something and reaching out and getting a response back. I mean, luckily that happens.
yeah, right.
See, and like,
I don't understand it a lot of times.
and like, I feel like I dedicated myself to that dead slow technique last year with the tiny, and now I'm going to try to implement it across to other baits that I fish here. So like Ham just came out with the 86, just came out with the CFH. It's like the lip trout. And like, I'm trying to do similar things to what I was doing with the tiny with that, just totally different profile. So you add a little bit of weight, you change the hooks, you get it to suspend, and you get it down in spots where fish don't normally see that.
No, that's a great point of view. Ryan Kyle had a question. When is the SBU lawsuit against California DFG for not stocking SoCal with trout for the past decade?
I wish we were attorneys, but we're not, unfortunately. Just fishermen and sales guys, I guess you could say.
If there
We've
is an
talked
attorney
about-
that wants
Yeah,
to
any
Now,
do
attorneys.
it,
here's the thing is
Get at me.
we talked to Gilbert, is like, is there a way to get people together to be like, hey, I wouldn't mind paying $100 each, and we stock
Yeah, or
these
putting
lakes
like
with
sponsored
trout?
type
Yeah.
events to
Yeah.
where we put the money towards stockings. Yeah,
Is that
but
possible?
I have no clue. Like,
Yeah.
I know Gilbert kind of got down that rabbit hole at some point, but like, I don't know if it's something that we could do. Like,
Like, how much does it cost to stock trout?
it's $3 a pound.
There you go. So how many pounds is $3,000? You
But
get a decent amount of trout in
so
there.
you have to get permitted from the DFG. It comes down to laws and putting fish into water that they don't want it there. The cities really don't want the trout in our lakes,
But you could go to like a Skinner or a,
but they're getting trout.
but just to get more, if you wanted to pump a lake up.
but then who owns the trout? Then you've got like a weird thing. Well, I gave more money than this guy, so I get first priority. Like you know what I mean? It could
But
potentially.
it'd be like a group effort where you go, hey, we're just trying to build a bigger fishery.
Totally.
Like, I don't-
I'd love to do it. And if anybody's got any ideas or any connections, like, I'm all ears. We're happy to figure out a way to get stocking programs back in the lakes that should have them.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we grew up, the local lake was getting DFG one week and whitewater trout the next week, all winter long.
Wow, dude.
Unbelievable.
There'd be,
You can't even get one DFG stock now.
There'd be 100 people shore fishing trout.
Dude.
a
Last
day.
time I went to Long
Every
Rod Regional,
single day.
I walk up and it's just like a group of like 30 dudes.
Yeah, and
Right.
fishing has exploded during, what's going on. Like, it's
vid.
never been bigger.
Yeah.
So why not utilize, I guess, the license money that we're paying? Like, they should be putting it into these programs, but they don't. But it's just like anything else. Like, it just takes knowing the right people or, knocking on the right doors, whatever it might be.
Have you thought about doing a tournament when this is clear? Like, you had an Irvine Lake one, right?
Yeah.
You thought about doing something like that again?
Yeah, we've talked about it. It's logistically, it's a lot. Permits, like
Right now,
it's to the point where like those old ones were under the radar, and like now
You guys are at a different fucking level now.
totally different space. So yeah, it'd be awesome.
Now you'd have to pull a DFG permit, sit
Insurance,
down with
all
all the
kinds of
rest
stuff.
of the
my
when the guys,
Oh,
all the rest
someone
of the
at tournament-
tournaments are pulling
Yeah.
their date, and you kind of have to battle with them, and it's no real reason to step on any toes or anything. It'd be great to do it, but
It's not-
there's a lot of
There's other
events.
things you got.
There's
in time.
tons
There's
of
a lot
events down
dude.
here.
Like there's a lot
Everyone
of
could get
events.
together and go fish one of the events
Yeah,
that
like,
they hold.
Like just last year when Eric had the UFO event,
Yeah.
like an event like that is awesome, and it's great to get everybody together, and you don't have the pressure of a tournament before or after, because like it just changes the dynamic. Guys on tournament day want to get out and fish. They want to get out there and go do it rather than
Serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, exactly.
It gets too serious sometimes. And
Yeah.
It could be just a fun time. Like an event like that.
Yeah.
Like Toxic Day would have been. I wish you
Toxic
could have
Day.
done that this
Oh
year. That
man,
would've been
I can't
cool.
wait to go check out his new shop.
Yeah. I think that's going to be January for me. I'm going to go up there and
Yeah?
podcast out of it. Yeah.
Nice.
I think. We'll see. All right. Here's the next question. You kind of hit on this, but I mean, go into more detail. I'm very interested. Difference between the U.S. and Japan swim bait scene. So you kind of started saying, they don't just pull baits out of the fucking...
Yeah, so that's one thing. With like my biggest takeaway, and I think Matt would agree, was that they pretty much fish hard baits. Like they don't. There's not a lot of soft bait fishermen there.
Really?
No.
Why do you think? Don't know.
Don't know.
They haven't been introduced, just like us getting their baits. All of the real bait, they love Huddleston over there.
Mm-hmm.
You see them very rarely, but they're $100 for 8-inch Hud over there.
Yeah.
Really?
Didn't you get a kid that we met at the tackle show? Didn't you get him a HUD?
He had a HUD, and I kind of broke down gave him a little rigging advice, and then he stuck. I don't even know. It was a giant
Over
fish.
there?
Oh man,
In
it was
Japan?
like
within 24 hours of us talking to him.
Matt's
at
like,
the
here's what
time.
you want to do, and we obviously he's the interpreter, and he like broke it down, like rigging and maybe just like, because a lot of guys are from shore there, so and Matt really has the HUDs dialed in to where like a 0 with a little weight or 5 and cut some weight out. he showed him how to do it, and the kid sent a picture back, and it's somewhere on our Instagram or on Gilbert's.
damn,
I know because it was on the board. It like those biwa fish are so short and so fat. Like
It's probably like a 23-inch, 12-pound fish, I would imagine.
yeah,
He's
20
stoked. The guy's
Oh,
stoked.
It was like a chode, like a square, you know. And the kid was so stoked, and he was a nice guy. Like it was a cool deal.
So that's
but-
a secret probably over there right now. Not a secret, but it's just not utilized, so it's something different.
I mean, even fishing on the boat with Manabu and watching him, what he would grab my rods and the way he was fishing my soft baits would kind of blew me away. Like,
And Matt's
Really?
talking about Manabu, the world record
Yeah.
holder. Yeah.
and I mean, yeah, you know, we would go and
I know I saw the picture that you
watch-
showed me at your house of that's the actual size of the fish, right?
Yeah. Giant.
Huge, dude.
Yeah.
and yeah, just watch. Their concepts are more. It seems like more reactive. Everything comes reactively from the fish. Where we kind of saw it. Okay, guys probably were fishing live trout. Like, oh man, they really eat these things. And slow down the line comes a HUD. You know, I mean, there's plenty of the Worm King and whatever else came in between all of them. But
yeah.
you're basically, it's something that was born here, where hard baits like jerk baits, you look at what all of their market is. Go look at Megabass. I mean, they have
Huge.
15,000 different baits. Like, you get their catalog, it's 200
You
pages.
ever seen like a JDM
No,
tackle catalog?
Never.
Oh man.
It's crazy.
Oh.
The Megabass
Unbelievable.
catalog's like a work of art. It's something you want to have on your coffee table. I actually brought it home and gave it to a buddy that's a super Megabass fan because of it.
Yeah.
Like, I had to buy it looking at it like, this is cool. And
And they make
sell
a
them.
million different models of this.
What they bring into the States is 1/100th of what they put in the catalog. I don't know if it's that extreme, but it's unbelievable how much stuff they have.
It's got to make you
It
think,
is.
man, how
They have more saltwater selection specific
Uh-huh.
than what everything we bring in the United States. They have a bigger selection market or saltwater market
Yeah.
of Megabass jerk baits and
That's
topwater baits.
wild,
And
dude. That's wild.
yeah.
So and they're also into like those are the biggest differences, and I think the soft bait was one, and like they're really into crankdown stuff. At least in the BY area, a lot of shore fishermen love the crankdown because you can customize it. You take a bait that will float on its own, you crank it down, it gets to the bottom, or you add a little weight and it'll suspend there and it'll stay in the strike zone longer for the guys that are on shore. So
How many? There's not many people with boats there at all.
there's a lot of boats, but for your average angler, it's not an option.
Yes. So everyone's shore pounding most
Yeah.
of the time.
Yeah.
And you
Not
talked
everybody
about,
can
yeah.
build their own boat, you know.
I know. You guys did it. Touche. What's your preferred retrieve when fishing the depths of any size?
Fast.
Yeah.
Always burning it?
I mean, not always burning it, but with the fast reel.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
so Matt's a little different than most guys on that.
So I know a lot of guys fish it with a 5-to-1. I've always had the majority of my success. I feel like I have better contact with the bait. I feel like I can make the bait swim better when I'm fishing a faster gear ratio. You watch all the guys from Japan, they're all fishing.
Fast
They're all
gear
fishing
ratios.
fast gear ratio reels, 7-to-1, 8-to-1. That's just kind of. I started fishing it on a 5-to-1. I caught fish. I picked up and put it on a Z. 2020, I think it's a 7.2-to-1 reel.
Felt more comfortable?
And instantly, I just not felt more comfortable. I just started catching more fish.
Really?
And with catching more fish, you start, confidence comes. So, I mean, I understand for the tight, going back again, we were fishing a lot of structure up tight to the bank. So we're trying to pull that reaction out of a fish. I'm not casting down, fishing a long point, and just slowly winding a bait along a point. So yeah, most of my slide swimmer fish were at the 5-to-1 or
Same.
7-to-1.
Yeah, I was in like the 6 or 7, and
Okay.
like what Matt's talking about is kind of like what Manny was just talking about on his podcast earlier. Like that fish that comes out and it's like fully chasing that bait down. Like that's when you see guys like Matt and Manny, they really start to get into it and like work that bait even more and get it to go side to side more than it was before, and that'll elicit the strikes a lot of times.
And you could do that a little better with the 7 or 6-to-1.
Yeah, you can pick up more slack
Yeah.
when it comes to it. Yeah.
Okay.
Bait's a lot more likely to blow out with a 5-to-1. I mean, you can
Yeah.
reel too fast, obviously, but yeah, with a 5-to-1, you're a lot more likely to have the nose of that bait start picking up in your retrieve. And once that bait kind of walks nose up, that fish
Done.
he's not coming to eat that thing.
This is what size? This is from so the previous one was Jesse McBride. And then the previous one, the Japanese one, was SKNKED Tackle. The next one is Jurjap00. What size reel drag capability do you look for? What test line and why? What type? Why do you use that line? I mean, we kind of said
talked
that.
about the line. Like drag, it just seems like all the baitcaster these days are all like, 18 and 20 plus pounds of drag? Like, nobody's messing with any light stuff anymore.
I think that Ryoga has like 13 or 14 pounds, but I mean, that's
on the small end.
It's, and I wouldn't really fish anything bigger than an 8-inch head with that. Anything bigger, hopefully it has at least 22 pounds of drag in, for the most part, unless I'm fishing water.
You guys like to use it like tranks?
Yeah, I
for
fish
swim baits?
tranks on the saltwater.
Not
exclusively.
on swim bait stuff.
No, it's just no, I don't. Just
I don't like. I have a 200. I don't feel like the drag's that great on it at
the
all.
drags are fine, but like for me, there's more refined reels. Like when you get into that Conquest DC or like that Zillion HD, like it's just a totally different level of refinement. The Tranks is great for what it is. I love them for salt. It's just I keep my reels separate. Don't want them to be ruined.
Oh, that's what I've learned. Trust me.
Oh yeah, we all do.
I'm like, fuck, man. I got a whole set of calicos that are just ruined now.
Yeah.
And it only lasts like 3 or 4 years, made tops, you know?
And he asked about line size. We're both 20, for the most part, 20 pound, triple X Iser, and then what braid? Like 50 or 65?
I'll fish all the way up 80.
You aren't using fluoro at all?
I don't personally use fluoro. Just it's just one more thing to manage.
Yeah.
I get the bulk spool, and that's what I do.
It's a good price too, right? Like,
yeah, it's fine. Like I put as much of it on as I can, and I'm respooling every 2 to 3 trips.
Yeah.
Because it's not a big expense. But if I'm using fluoro, like it's
a lot.
Can be.
I just put some on my reel. I'm like, oh, fuck me.
Comes back again to time and place. Like if we were fishing on big bodies of water that it was necessary.
Oh, for sure.
We would have reel,
Yeah.
There would be some 20 and 25 pound of Brazex probably on our reels. But yeah, it's not needed where we're fishing most of the time.
Okay, this one's what's your favorite size and rated swim bait rod for bigger baits?
I mean, what's bigger? Like for me,
I think the most popular bigger one, let's say a Depths.
Depths
250.
The Depths 250. I'm gonna throw that on the lowdown XH. I prefer the 8.6. They're a little harder to find these days. The white labels. That's my go-to rod.
That's the one I want, man.
Yeah, we all do.
Yeah. Big dick in me over here. No, I'm just
so the 8.6 extra heavy. It's got that nice parabolic bend, and pair that with a 300 size reel, you're good to go.
What were you using before using the lowdowns?
I've had 2 other rods. The Loomis 966, the BBR.
That one, it's hard to find now too.
Yeah,
right?
they've discontinued it like right as I got into it. That's a bigger soft bait rod, and then I had like a PAL, and then recently I added the DRT Pulse to the collection.
Okay,
it's a great rod for their baits, separating handle. And then what's the other one that we got? The Tulala. So that one's for like the Ghost.
Yeah.
You use the same pretty much setup?
I personally like it been the LDC custom blank. I don't like parabolic rods nearly as much. I know with the treble hook baits, they're good. The white label rods for me are just too soft. They're great rods. I've caught fish on them. I just, I'm used to, I started fishing with a broomstick, and that's what I like.
Yeah,
so
Matt. If you ever been on a boat with him, you watch him set the hook. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, I want that fish to feel my pain.
Emo.
So emo, bro.
And an XH also, right? But you prefer the custom?
Yeah. But I mean, really, I fish the double extra heavy mostly now for bigger heavier baits. But yeah.
Yeah.
My go-to rod that Ben's had to rewrap completely for me because my handle came apart because it was just demolished and smashed.
You must use that rod a lot.
Yeah, it was an 8 foot extra heavy. It was the
I've had
rod
these
that
rods
was
for over 10
until I
years,
started
so.
fishing bigger baits. That was the rod that I fished for 4 or 5 seasons straight until it fell legitimately just.
Which, if you think about a custom rod, and people go, "Fuck, that's a lot." If it's a really great built rod, like you can have that for a long time if you take.
We can go
of
out
it,
to the rod rack right now. I still have the first rod that he ever wrapped me.
Yeah.
Like you'd look at it and he would cringe looking at the progression. But like if I needed to, it's a heavy. I could go throw up to 8-inch HUD on it.
Yeah.
No problem. It's
Yeah.
still good to go.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
We have some rods that have fished in the salt that he's actually come back and seen that he's
Really?
just taken away from us. He's like, I can't let you have this anymore just because of how bad it was.
You guys beat the shit out of it. This one's from Alpha Bimp.
Richard.
Yeah. For Chris, what is the most rewarding part about being the face of SU? Looking back, how does it feel to have it grow from a simple online form to the most reputable and well-known brand? One that extends beyond your hometown to tackle shops, even Japan.
Yeah. Thanks, Richard. And I appreciate that first and foremost. Biggest thing for me is like being the face is, well, if you will, like I'm still kind of hidden. It's not like I'm out there all the time promoting and stuff. It's different. I like we kind of talked about in the first podcast, like I try to stay away from the drama and all the other stuff. Like just, it's not for me. I got other stuff going on in life. So it's cool. Like it's neat to be able to connect with these brands. These guys.
I don't feel like it made a big difference from you. Like people knowing you kind of
like I'm the same.
It's the same, right? Kind of like, I mean, you
like
have your personal
This past
Instagram,
weekend I was, or last week I was up visiting my buddy Menzel in Northern California hunting. We spent all day on Wednesday in the blind with him and one of his buddies from SoCal, and he's in the fishing industry also. We sat there, we shot the shit all day. And then the next day we're talking again in the blind again. He goes, so what do you do? And I told him, he's like, are you kidding? I'm like, no. He's like, I didn't know that. I'm like, well.
But that makes it cool to me because it's like, you're not going to get treated any differently.
No, the only way you would know that that I would in the quote unquote face is when you walk up and you see Matt decked out head to toe and Paul's laced up too. Like Paul's always rocking. He was just at a taco shop recently in El Cajon, and some dude that we know messaged me. He goes, hey, I met your pops today at the taco shop. He's all, I knew it was him when he had a toxic bait, or I knew he was somebody when he had a toxic bait shirt on and a Swimbait Underground hat. I'm like, that's Paul.
That's the only way that people would know you, and it's kind of cool to keep it like. By no means am I like on any type of like famous thing, but I could walk into a tackle shop, any fucking tackle shop, people don't know who the fuck I am.
Yeah, because they see your face all the time.
I talk, they go,
yeah.
Hey,
you're the guy with the golden pipes.
I'm like the guy with the fucking annoying ass voice. Yeah, it's
the
me.
guy that cuts everybody off and gets drunk.
Gosh.
But it's kind of cool. You get to do the same thing I do because no one really sees you.
Yeah, like I'm dude, just a normal guy.
Yeah.
I love fishing. I'm really fortunate to be a part of the community that I am, and like he was the second part of the question. He was asking about like the community and growing
the reach of it. Yeah.
Oh, it's incredibly rewarding to see. Like we'll go back to the bait thing. You got guys that started in the grassroots section, and now it's their full-time gig. Like we're able to facilitate and harbor a place where guys can build baits and essentially build a career for themselves. And they're able to spend more time with their family. They're able to do what they love versus something that they might have just been getting by at. And now they're building baits, and like, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's incredibly rewarding to be a part of it.
Yeah. I mean, how big it's gotten to over the last, like probably like 3 years, it's really exploded.
Yeah.
4 years.
It's growing.
I think with Instagram too, I think things just have moved differently.
Yeah,
right.
It's that things are kind of in an interesting space at this time with the gram. Like, I don't know. I always wonder what's going on out there. Like we recently did a knife collaboration with Silverware. Pro skater Jeff Raleigh owns that company, and he does a really good job. Like the knives are awesome, great product. Like it's what I wear all the time. Like in my everyday carry. We did it. We put it out there, and like. Instagram essentially came after us saying that we're selling weapons and all this stuff. I'm like, are you kidding me?
Did they take the post down?
Yeah. Like you can't tag, well, you can keep the post up, but you can't have your tagged product. And like, there's a bunch of back end stuff that goes with it. But like, we're talking about like, it's a pocket knife.
I know you might stab someone with that thing.
It's like, come on.
You want to play Razor Tag Fool?
Only Jack would do that.
Yeah. Jack.
Only
He
Jack.
said he saw the knife and it was like, oh, this is a perfect little shank. I'm like, oh man, we're in trouble now.
But it's crazy. Like
It's a strange world that we're living in, and
Yeah.
it's uncharted territories for sure. And like, but yeah, it's cool to see the growth and be a part of it. Without a doubt, like still the same guy here, fishing, family man. Recently had my second child.
congrats.
Thanks, dude.
Daddy
Stoked.
daycare.
Daddy daycare all the time. It's cool though.
Yeah.
Did we get that covered?
Yeah, I thought that was pretty good. I got one more for you. What gear ratio and rod do you prefer with a tiny clash? Also, is 25-pound fluoro overkill?
Yes, 25-pound fluoro is overkill.
Yes.
Really?
Yeah, for sure. On that bait specifically, like guys get away with 17.
I would say, yeah, you could fish 15.
Really?
I fish 20 on it for the most part.
Wow.
Yeah, 20 for me, but it like depends. Matt really likes to fish that particular bait as a glide, so he will use something that's a little bit faster than me. So if you were fishing it in glide mode, 6 or 7, right?
Mode B, I fish an 8-to-1 for it
Okay.
Mode B is what? No lip, tail down?
with weight.
There's with a little weight. Like there's so many different things. For me
It's
personally,
a crazy bait for. I mean, it's hard to get and it's a little expensive, but you could do so much with it. Right?
there's a big learning curve too. Like we're prime examples. Like I'm still figuring out. You just said it earlier. We still learn on it, and that I think that goes for anybody's baits. You look at something that, Clayton's putting out, or Caesar, or Eric. Like the more time you put in with these baits, the more rewards you're going to see, and you just learn a little bit every single time that you're doing it. But the way that I fish that particular bait, I like shoot. I think that 200 DC is a 4, high 4.9, slow as I can go.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like for me, cast it out, get it down to the bottom, and then like as slow as I can turn and just feel that tick, tick, tick. And certain areas I fish, once the weeds have died off, like if I'm on that rock, I know I'm getting bit.
Yeah.
It's happening.
Damn. Same.
Yeah, same.
Same thing.
I mean, on the DS, the dead slow retrieve, 5-to-1, 4.9, and then
You'll go lighter than 20 though sometimes.
no, because I don't really have it.
Okay.
Like,
But like
we
if
have
you're
the bulk
asking
spools.
specifically for that one,
For specific, like if you're fishing in a tournament, these fish are biting this bait, and you don't have quagga muscle, like we can't get away with fishing 15-pound tests, because if you crank on the bottom in a lake with quagga mussels, you're gonna turn the handle a second time and your bait's gonna be gone, and you're 120.
yeah.
Yeah,
go
if you
for a
can
bait?
find
And that bait that you just cart Jack Nick on is gone.
Yeah.
yeah, I've swam in mini ponds for
Really?
lakes.
For baits?
Oh yeah,
Damn.
got leeches all over my legs.
Who did, CJ Conrad? He's like a dive guy. He said he'd go in lakes and they'd dive down and find baits.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just like, because he's a diver. I'm sure he finds so much money in baits, dude, sometimes.
We found them. I have a couple hanging up in the shop that are just like baits that were gone for a year.
And you found it.
Yeah, found
way.
it. Yeah, it's
Found
hung
them
up
in
in
the
Thule's.
Oh,
Got it, hung it back up, and it's our bait. Like
Yeah.
there's only certain things that we're throwing. So yeah, that one obviously is a hanger now. It's
A hanger.
the resin's all off of it, or clear coat, whatever the hell
Why
it is.
else would you hang a bait?
Why?
Like, is there another reason you'd hang one?
Yeah, I hang baits that are somewhat sentimental to me. Like the first tournament that I won on Swimbait Underground was like with my 8 or 9 pounder, whatever it was. Like Caesar sent me a bait. This is like maybe 10, 11,
Okay.
probably 11. I won that as the prize, and like that's hanging up there. Baits that guys that like when we were in Japan they gave to us, like things like that have a sentimental value.
Yeah.
Ham recently put up his bass, which I don't even think he's released. Like I said, hey, there's an empty hanger there. You better put it up there. He did. It's like, oh, Matt's got
There's some hinkles
up there.
that
Got something big on it?
I've caught big fit, like the one that's actually the big trout, the 11-inch trout. I've caught my PB bass, PB striper on it,
Oh, damn.
and it's actually now 2 separate baits that are put together because I casted the back half off, and my buddy Matt broke his front half of his bait. So put the bait together.
Frankenstein.
And
It's
these
a
are
Frankenstein.
baits when Hinkle was still painting them himself. So
So half the baits,
cool.
his original, like probably one of the first, 50 baits that he ever out of his mold.
Yeah.
You can tell the difference between the gloss and the matte trout. There's some other baits that he lost in the lake, and other friends have found that I got back.
Yeah.
I somehow managed to sneak away some baits I've snuck
Hinkle's
away
doing some
from
cool
his
stuff
house.
these days too. I don't know if you've seen it.
I have.
Yeah, the
That's
trick
pretty
trout's
cool.
coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should be having at least some of those for Matt and I to check out. Some things coming with Hinkle in the near future too. we hope.
Nice. Yeah, that'll be really cool.
Yeah.
I know he's like
Maybe if we mention him, he'll go on the podcast with you.
I've tried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a silent warrior.
Yeah.
That's not going to happen.
I've tried. Hey,
can promise.
hopefully you can put a good word in for me. And get him on.
I could try, but
he's another piece of the puzzle that everyone's always talked about, his baits, for a long time.
Yeah, he really.
He grew up around here with you guys?
Yeah, he's local.
Did you grow up?
He didn't grow up with us. No, he went to what I'd say would be our rival high school.
Uh-oh.
he was a rival fisherman on the opposite side of the lake.
Was he really?
Yeah, back in the day. Well, he was smart. He was catching big swimbait fish while Matt and I were catching stupid-ass trout.
He grew up. His dad's an awesome bass fisherman, so he
Yeah,
grew
really
up on the
well-known
bass
tournament
fishing
angler.
Oh, really?
tournament.
Yeah.
His
Okay.
older brothers were really good big bait bass fishermen. That's pretty well known. He has got multiple 15s and 16s. Like the family is pretty good. He will tell you he's maybe not the best fisherman, and that's why he makes baits. He loves it, and he's good at it. So
Huh, that's cool.
Dialed in.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I want to tell you, thank you, Chris, for all the support on the podcast
Dude.
over the last couple years. You've
Happy to
helped
do
a
it.
lot. Yeah.
Hold on. Before we do, make sure you go to Cast and Crake's Patreon, sign up for the giveaway this month.
Yeah.
What do we have? We got the SU Big Bait Bag.
The shank that he just showed on
Yep,
video.
the prison shank, the quote-unquote weapon. Shout out Instagram. You've got the Depths 250
Yes.
in Golden Shiner, Depths 175 Golden Shiner, and you got a 12-inch SU Union wrap for it.
Yep. And thank you, guys. That's a big help. Both
Yeah.
of you guys, thanks for coming on. And hopefully we get Captain Anxiety on the podcast sooner or later. Ben,
You could work on that. We'll see.
we're trying. Trying.
that one's
I
probably
think-
not going to happen.
is there anything else
either.
that we need to cover, Matt? Like, obviously, we touched on some of the
Well,
guys.
hopefully this is, like I said, hopefully next year when everything's open. I've talked to Chris before about having an event, so I want to have something big, and hopefully these guys will probably be involved, and we'll just do something really cool.
Yeah,
you know?
anything that's community related
Yeah.
and like with swim baiting in particular, like
Yeah.
we're happy to do it. As far as like everybody else, like any bait makers, anybody else that's like kind of interested, go check out the forum,
Yeah.
swimbaitunderground.com. We're working on a revamp of the entire platform. On the back end, something should be coming here in the near future, so that'll be cool. Other bait makers, like guys I mentioned that have been a part of what we've done, I can't thank you guys enough for doing it. I mention it to them all the time privately, but they could continuously do what they're doing on their own. Like they don't need us to help them sell baits, or they don't need to give us baits to sell. Like they could do it on their own, and what they do for us is huge. So thanks to those guys, everybody that's been a part of this, especially for this month. Like it's really cool to be able to put this together for our 10th year. Having guys like Manny, guys like Gilbert, hopefully a guest next week. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't want to announce it.
Yeah, we're
yet.
not jinxing anything. You had Matt on at the beginning. Is there anybody else? You had Eric on right before that.
Yes.
UFO. Have we had any others? Or I don't want to forget anybody.
That's you guys. I think that's everyone. I mean, you guys have all, yeah. And hopefully this, Butch, that was a big one you guys helped
Butch
me
was,
with.
yeah. Butch, it's so funny. We were looking back at some of the old stuff. Butch
The
cracks me up.
goat? Goat. What's the goat?
Your ad for him with his
You like
voiceover.
it?
Oh, it just makes me laugh every time.
It makes me laugh too. It's like, oh yeah, like oh.
Yeah, it's super cool to be able to like connect with guys like that, and that's one thing that I'm incredibly fortunate, and I think Matt will echo the same sentiment. Like being able to talk to guys like Butch, we're not peers in any way, shape, or form. Like Butch is an older gentleman, but the knowledge that he passes down, and like when you sit there and talk to him, like it takes you back. Guys like Jerry Rago, being able to sit there and have a conversation about the old days of bait building and all these things. Like these are guys that are my dad's age that I've learned a tremendous amount from. Talking to guys like Gilbert, Manny, up in Northern California, Raphael from DRT USA. Like, these dudes might not always be in the forefront and putting it out there of what they're doing, but if you've ever had the chance to talk to any one of them off the water or on the water, like, just great dudes.
Yeah.
And it's a cool thing. You know, what we do is very unique. The waters that we fish here in Southern California are tiny. To be able to talk to guys like that regularly as a sounding board and to learn things from, like, you heard Manny talk about fishing with Matt and Gilbert and like just the little things. We all pick things up from each other, and it's cool. So
yeah, it's great to share experience like that. It's, you know, like, even just listening to little things like, totally. I told you, like, hey, I caught this fucking fish, Charles, show me. I always talk about that, you know, because I hear you guys go, oh, the shadow or whatever, or even the punker. Hey, casting the coves. All right. We pulled up to that cove, and I'm like, again, I'll be like, I fucking talked to you about it. And you're like, casting the fucking coves. Okay, throw it in there. No one's thrown over there right now. Up, bam, on, you know, like, shit like that you learn from people, and you go, you don't think you're learning, but you are, because you're looking at it or doing it over and over, and you listen. I listen to this fucking podcast all the time, and I'm like, oh, fuck yeah, you know, like that right there. This,
like, you listen to Two Bears, One Cave still?
Yeah, I do. How was that? Did you like the Burt show?
The Burt show was awesome. And don't let me forget, I got the air fresheners for you.
I saw, dude.
Yeah, those are for you. So a couple of weeks ago, Matt and I went to a comedy show here in San Diego. They had a drive-in comedy show set up at one of the colleges, and Burt Kreischer was there, and it was supposed to be just the two of us, and some bonding time. And my parents end up buying tickets on their own and like totally crashed our evening. But it was an awesome show, and as you went in, they gave air fresheners, and we could show it at the end. But it's an air freshener of Burt Kreischer wearing like a man thong.
No, he's naked.
Is he naked?
Yeah, if you, it's on his show.
Have you watched the show?
Yeah.
The Cabin.
Yeah.
And
Bobby Lee's.
So it's of that when he's laying on the bearskin rug.
On the bear rug.
Like,
so I bring it home, and my son Owen's like 2.5, and he goes, "Who shot the bear, Daddy?" I'm like, he sees right through the naked guy, and all he cares about is the bear rug.
That's great.
Yeah, it's good.
At least he's still innocent enough to go, who shot the bear?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, shit. Well, thanks, guys, a lot.
Yeah,
and,
dude. Thank you.
This will probably be up on Monday.
Keep it up, man.
Thank you, yeah.
I'm trying.
Yeah.
I'm hustling.
Stay up on that Patreon.
Yeah. Thanks, guys, for all the support.
Thank you, dude.